You might have heard of the band I'm going to be talking about in this video. They're called the Beatles. No, wait, the Beatles. Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are doing a throwback album review of Abbey Road by the Beatles. Abbey Road is 50 years old. It's its 50th anniversary since its release in the States, September 26, 1969. It was then released in the UK on October 1st, 1969. Abbey Road, it's the 11th studio album from the Beatles. Although it wasn't their final studio album, it was the final one to be recorded with all four of the Beatles band members taking part in the recording. In other words, Let It Be was the final album, the last album that was released by the Beatles, but it was the penultimate one to be recorded. The label that this album was released on, Apple, the studio that this was recorded in, Abbey Road, it's named after the Beatles. Actually, no, it's named after the street on which the building is located. But come on, this album is so iconic. When it was released, it didn't even need the title on the cover or the name of the band. Pretty big deal for when this album came out, its time. I mean, not a big deal because at that time of its release, the Beatles were more popular than Jesus already, remember? Obviously a joke. Now, where do I start talking about Abbey Road? Well, I hope it would be the first song, Come Together, because this song is amazing. We have that iconic drum fill, the triplet drum fills from Ringo all around the kit, from the hi-hat down to the four toms. We have John's vocal scouting of shunt do before Paul's slid bass comes in, do-do-do-do. That second track though on this album, I love it. It's written by George Harrison, the most underrated songwriter of the band. I mean, when you have Lennon and McCartney stealing the spotlight, it's kind of hard to get your deal of songs. Still, George, he wrote many gems that wouldn't really be noticed until the later discography, but boy, I'm glad that he bloomed into the star that he was for the Beatles. Songs like I Wanna Tell You, While My Guitar Gently Weeps, Here Comes the Sun, all written by him. More about the song Something though, this one was approved by Frank Sinatra. He actually said it's the best love song of the past 50 years, or at least around the time of the song's release. I would say it's my personal favorite Beatles song of all time, and I would actually definitively say that this is the best love song ever written. I might get some flack for that, but I'm willing to say it. And just as I say that Something is the best love song of all time, we have a bid for something that would be in like the top 10 for best love songs, Oh Darling. And I have to remind you, this is on the same album, by the way. The shouts and screams from Paul McCartney on this tune here, you can tell that he's just trying to desperately cling on to this relationship. He doesn't want her to leave. He doesn't want to leave. We have that 6/8 time signature and the momentous track. This thing just bolts forward. It steams ahead. It doesn't care what's in its way. It just goes, and it just is amazing. Even the corny moments on this album are fantastic, with Maxwell's Silver Hammer, another Paul song, pretty corny with its tune. It has a dark message though, and that's the thing I like to take away from certain tracks that you can enjoy in multiple moods or settings. I think of another song like Foster the People's Pumped Up Kicks, one that sounds really optimistic and happy with its melody, but when you look at the lyrics, it's just so brooding. And the Ringo song on this album, Octopus's Garden, leaps and bounds better than Yellow Submarine. That would be my least favorite Beatles song. Not as good as Ringo's Best, with a little help from my friends, but still an impressive track. We have the oohs and ahs from the other band members that contrast the masculine singing from Ringo. And okay, Ringo might not be the greatest singer. He isn't even the greatest drummer in the band, the Beatles, but hey, he's still one of my idols for drumming. He's got that steady pace. He's got nothing showy about him. That's what I kind of like. He's just in the background, but he contributes where he needs to. In this album, he contributes a lot with toms. He just goes heavy and ballistic on the toms. Closing off the first side of this iconic album, we have I Want You, She's So Heavy, and this song is just proving simplicity as being the greatest trick in music sometimes, the best tool in the toolbox for songwriters. You have the least amount of lyrics possible and you drag it out into an 8-minute length of a composition, and it just still sounds so good. Kicking off the second side of the album, and yes, if we're going back into time, we have to flip the vinyl over. The first song on the second side of this record is called Here Comes the Sun, and it's one of those classic songs that you grow up with and you just never question its quality. It's another Harrison Penn track, and it's the calm after the storm of what we had on the previous side of the vinyl. Winter has finally subsided. You can finally smile again and be happy with the world. We transition into the track Because, which talks a lot about love and love is all, love is you. Because was inspired by Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. It was the final track recorded for Abbey Road, and there are incredible vocal harmonies on this track here. I mean, another thing that the Beatles were famous for. Moving on from there, we get the final 8 tracks, technically 9 if we're including the hidden track, Her Majesty. But kicking off the 8 tracks that are ending this album, we have the famous 8-track 16-minute medley. First off, we have You Never Give Me Your Money, which acts as like this mantra of this children's rhyme, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all good children go to heaven. The tune that plays before that mantra is the centerpiece of the medley. Some ideas sonically would pop up time and time again on the later tracks in this medley as we go, but lyrically on this track we are paying tribute to the band and their struggles that they would go through before they eventually break up. The next track from there is called Sun King. We have some crickets on this track. It is so serene, so tender. The song is actually a snippet of an idea that John had while he was in India. The Beatles did this so many times. They threw together ideas from verses and choruses just to see how they would mix and match and just to see if they would fit. Golden Slumbers is another cut on Abbey Road in this medley as well that pulls on the heartstrings. Dazzling strings and brass sections arranged by the 5th Beatle, George Martin. You can't mention the Beatles without giving him respect for their arrangements that he did for the band as well as production. But I can't even hold my excitement to get to the end of this record. I have to solve an important question right now. Why is Abbey Road a classic? Why? And yeah, we need to know this because the album initially received mixed reviews. Some critics thought it was inauthentic. The Moog synthesizer was drowning out the natural abilities of the members. The natural singing, the natural playing, sounds couldn't be reproduced on stage even though they quit touring in 1966 and the Beatles never really meant to stop touring. Well, I'm going to give some reasons why Abbey Road is still iconic to this day. 1, it's innovative for its sound. It foreshadows a lot of arena rock that we get in the 70s and 80s. 2, it was well produced, well ahead of its time for when it came out in 1969. As I said, it was recorded in Abbey Road Studios. We had 8-track tape, lots of overdubbing. For something from the late 1960s, it's pretty damn good and it stands the test of time despite not having modern techniques available, what we have now in the 2010s. And 3, musically, it's amazing. You have that cohesive medley on side 2 that summarizes and culminates a big portion of the Beatles' careers. I said 3 like it was the last of 3 big things, but I'm gonna make it 4. The lyrical themes of love. You can't forget that with the Beatles. Love, love, love. Love is all you need. Love me do. Can't buy me love. All my loving. She loves you and I love her. P.S. I love you. You get the point. It's the most prominent theme in their music, and it's the best way to end an album where we have them saying it a million more times, with also the best showcase of the band's instrumental abilities. And one more final lyric to be the final lesson, one of the best takeaways you can get from the Beatles' music. And in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. One more 3-part vocal harmony and the squeal of George's lead guitar. And that's it, we're at a close. Until the final hidden track, which I'm not really counting. It was meant to be part of the medley, but just didn't fit. But my goodness, Abbey Road. It's a moving album, moving songs. It's synergistic. The whole is definitely grayer than the sum of its parts. It's thrilling. The whirlwind of emotions I get while listening to this album. It can be sad, it can be happy sometimes, but holy, it's an immersive experience that I get with this album. I love playing it. I love singing along. I love listening. Happy 50th birthday to Abbey Road. I hope that it will be a classic for many years to come. I plan to share it with my future kids, and who knows, maybe it will still be regarded as one of the greatest albums of all time at 100 years. Time will only tell. And there you have it. There's the review of Abbey Road. Hopefully you're listening to it sometime around the 50th anniversary. Sound off down below in the comments. Let me know if I'm just full of crap. Let me know if this is all just nostalgia. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching. As always, have a rockin' day.